Now at 9, parents push back in the Alpine School District.
If you want to close schools, that's fine, but you have to go through the process right.
2 Alpine elementary schools are gone for good, but what about the fate for 3 others? I'll tell you what the board voted tonight.
Salt Lake gets so hot during the summer, it's actually one of the top heat islands in the U.S. How a new project could help keep the city cool.
We had a really hot Tuesday, and it's been pretty warm and dry all across the state, but is there going to be any break in this weather pattern at all? We'll have your forecast coming up.
A Utah State University football player is arrested, accused of raping another student.
It scares me so bad. It scares me for every single student.
Tonight, the grim reminder of what's happened with the Aggies program in the past.
But still 4 young. Just great.
And studying these unusual owls right here in Utah. What researchers are hoping to discover and why this year is so crucial to get those answers.
Live from Utah's news leader, Fox 13 News at 9 starts right now.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight after the MLB All-Star Game. I'm Kelly Chapman.
And I'm Robin Ogunye, filling in for Bob Evans. The Alpine School District voted to close 2 elementary schools 2 weeks ago, and the future of 3 more was decided on tonight.
We're talking about the ones you see on your screen here in Lehigh, Linden, and then Windsor Elementaries. Fox 13 News reporter Emily Tenser was there for the parents' final pleas.
Board members described these school closures as gut-wrenching, but also as an urgent response to their lack of funds to support under-enrolled schools and broken-down buildings.
3 Alpine elementary schools are saved from the chopping block, but the board assures their fate will be revisited.
Action will still have to happen at some point. If not tonight, then when? When?
The district considered closing Lehigh, Linden, and Windsor elementary schools after pulling the rug of Sharon and Valley View 2 weeks ago.
That's the heartache that I still feel throughout all of this. I shed tears this last week over them.
The rush to close schools came after a bond failed back in November.
Without a bond, it will take us years to take care of these needs.
Since then, it's been a speedy process of studies and closures, so much so that parents filed a lawsuit and even got the legislature involved.
It exploded that sense of trust that so many of our communities had built.
Tuesday night, the board voted to stop the process for now.
Whatever we vote tonight is not the end. It cannot be the end.
And the parents plan to withdraw that lawsuit.
Honestly, I was elated. I was thrilled. I thought this is what we have been hoping for. This is what we've been asking for. We really just want them to do this right.
The Lehigh Elementary School decision was unanimous, but the outcome for Linden and Windsor Elementary almost went in a different direction. Those votes were split 3-4. Reporting in American Fork, Emily Tenser, Fox 13 News, Utah.
We have an update to a study into the borders for Salt Lake City School District's elementary schools and possibly school closures. In their board meeting today, they found a 29% drop in elementary school attendance from 2014 to 2022, indicating that action would be needed to keep class sizes across the district appropriately sized. The schools recommend for further study for the future closures are Emerson, Hawthorne, Binion, Jackson, Newman, Riley, and Wasatch elementary schools. The study included counting classroom sizes as well as comments from faculty and parents.
When parents brought them up, I didn't shut parents down in meetings. I listened and wrote and said we will share that with the board. So you do have a lot of those comments, but I wanted you to get a flavor of what was really being discussed at the school, and so that's where that came from.
The remaining 20 elementary schools were recommended for further study into possible boundary adjustments. The study also recommended information sessions and public comment periods in September and October before coming to a final decision in either December or January.
We have an update to a story we brought you earlier tonight in Roy. 2 right lanes on I-215 westbound at 4700 South are closed due to road buckling. UDOT confirms that the road is buckling likely due to the extreme heat. The closure is expected to last through the overnight hours until approximately 4 a.m. Utah's heat feels almost inescapable, especially for those who spend their days outside. And seeking shade often not an option in our urban areas.
It is so hot. Fox 13 News reporter Jenna Breeze shows us how a new project can make Salt Lake City more resilient to heat.
Native Utahns grow accustomed to the scorching summers.
I think of it as surprising because I always associate Salt Lake with snow and winter. And so I think for a lot of people outside of the area, it'd be like, really?
Professors at Utah State University say Salt Lake City is actually one of the hottest urban heat islands in the U.S. and are working to develop heat index maps.
This can really help us to understand the distribution of the extreme heat, and we can identify which communities are most subject to this heat.
Wei Zhang is leading the project funded by NOAA, recruiting volunteers to be citizen scientists and help collect the data this Saturday when it will be close to 100 degrees.
If you think about going up into the mountains, into the neighborhoods that have greater tree canopy, you might have cooler temperatures. And if you go towards the airport where you have, less tree canopy, a lot of black, dark surfaces, a lot of buildings that trap the heat, you're going to have much higher temperatures.
Volunteers will drive along specific routes over 3 separate 1-hour periods using a device attached to their car to collect data.
It's really about engagement, and those data later on can be used for urban planning, can be used to develop more heat resilient communities, and also to address some public health problems or air pollution.
Daniela Hirschfeld expects the map will confirm her observations of environmental injustice.
The neighborhoods that are likely to have the highest heat on Saturday are also the neighborhoods that have the lowest income brackets and a lot of minority populations.
Salt Lake City, one of several cities involved in NOAA's global effort to address heat inequities across the country. In Salt Lake City, Jenna Bree, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Now, the professors are still recruiting volunteers for data collection for this Saturday, the 15th. Volunteers will get a $25 gift card for helping out. You can learn how to get involved on our website, fox13now.com.
I think anything at this point that's going to make us cooler is a good idea.
Anything. Man, we really could use a shift in our weather pattern, Dina.
Yeah, sorry, not going to happen. So we definitely
thought I'd ask.
Yay. Well, at least for the next 7 days, this is what we've got. But we do have some pretty sunsets. Hey, there's that. There's always a silver lining, as they say. So our sunset tonight sent in our Utah's Facebook Weather Authority page. We love seeing your photos there. This one from Chris Anderson. Thank you so much. Beautiful view of the Wasatch at the golden hour of the sunset tonight. Right now, it is finally cooling off a little bit. We're out of the 90s finally. Wow, it took long enough, didn't it? 85 degrees here in Salt Lake, 80 in Ogden, and 80 in Provo. We've got very warm temperatures for the next 7 days. The heat just goes on and on, increasing fire danger as well, and temperatures so hot by the time we get into Saturday and Sunday here, we will be approaching those triple digits, the 100 degrees. Possible break in the weather early next week, or really we should say midweek. Don't get too excited there. More like Tuesday, Wednesday time frame of next week. Clear skies tonight. A few thunderstorms in southeastern Utah have moved on now, and we are just left with clear skies, and temperatures are still pretty warm. 85 in Salt Lake, 74 for Price there, and it's still 96 in St. George and 88 in Wendover. A warm night. Temperatures only going down into the 70-degree area by the time we get to the morning. But we've got another long week ahead of some hot temperatures, but we'll talk about some of what our climate patterns are for this late in July coming up.
See you then, Dina. Thanks. We do have new details of the fire burning along I-70 in Grand County that started with a vehicle rollover. Utah Highway Patrol says a truck and trailer lost control, potentially due to wind, went into the median and then rolled. That sparked the fire, which has since grown to almost 1,800 acres. This is burning about 15 miles west of the Colorado border. Fire officials say dry, windy conditions, also dry grass, helped fan the flames, but they say currently in most areas it is not progressing, just smoldering. As for the crash, 2 people in the truck were sent to the hospital with moderate to serious injuries. The fire is now 89% contained.
We're also tracking the Farron Mountain Fire burning in Farron Canyon in the Manti-La Sal National Forest. It started Sunday night from lightning and is about 2 acres. Fire officials expect it to be contained tonight, but crews will remain on scene for a few days. No structures are threatened.
Police now have a suspect in custody for a deadly hit and run that happened Sunday in Salt Lake City.
Police say a 27-year-old man turned himself in, and detectives are working with the district attorney's office to file charges. The victim, 58-year-old Juan Messino, was riding his bike on Redwood Road around 4:30 a.m. Sunday when police say the driver hit him and just kept going. The cyclist died shortly after. This crash marks the 10th traffic-related fatality in Salt Lake City this year.
A 6-year-old girl has been hospitalized after a lawnmower accident in Pleasant View. According to police, the girl was on a riding lawnmower with her father around 9:30 this morning when she fell off. A blade hit her leg. Now, the specifics of the injury have not been confirmed, but police say she's in critical condition.
The Paiute tribe has confirmed to our content sharing partners at the Salt Lake Tribune that the bodies of 12 children were found buried at the site of a former indigenous boarding school in southern Utah. The tribe leaders say ground penetrating radar was used to find the bodies at the site of the Panguitch boarding school, which primarily housed band members of the Paiute tribe in the early 1900s. Leaders are now working on the best ways to honor and memorialize the children.
Utah could soon play a major role in battling critical illnesses like pneumonia and other respiratory conditions. How this pivotal research is getting a big boost.
Plus, you can chime in on what the future of transportation in northern Utah could look like, what we could see in the years to come.
Former BYU golfer Peter Quest has had an amazing 2 weeks. We'll hear from him as he gets ready to tee it up once again on the PGA Tour.
He's not a formal candidate yet, and House Speaker Brad Wilson has already raised a lot of cash for a potential U.S. Senate run. Wilson is technically in the exploratory phase, but his campaign says he's already raised $2.2 million. That is a lot of cash this early. Wilson is exploring a potential U.S. Senate run for the seat currently held by Senator Mitt Romney that would be up in 2024.
Work toward getting answers on how to better treat critical illnesses like pneumonia and sepsis is getting a big boost, and Intermountain Health is at the forefront. The National Institutes of Health has provided a grant worth more than $50 million, all to help fund research into an initiative using advanced technology like AI and machine learning, all to analyze patients for the different types of these illnesses. Intermountain Health is one of 6 health systems in the entire U.S. involved in this effort.
What we're really trying to do is identify what are these meaningful subtypes of these big syndromes so that we can get specific treatments to people. And you may have heard of personalized medicine. This is a part of advancing that cause of personalized medicine, where it's not just a one-size-fits-all, but it's specific treatments for specific people. And a lot of us are really optimistic that this will be the crucial next step in finding potential effective treatments for these devastating illnesses.
This study will start enrolling patients by early next year. Researchers hope to enroll 5,000 patients overall in the next 5 years.
The Wasatch Front Regional Council is planning the next 5 years of transportation in northern Utah and is asking for your input. The first of 2 open house events was held at the Salt Lake Central Station today, where participants could point out which projects they feel should be priority. Some of those projects include expanding charging stations for UTA's new electric buses, widening the 1200 West Road in Brigham City, and even expanding the Davis-Weber Canal Trail.
I'd encourage all to go to the webpage, look at the interactive map, look at the projects, leave a comment if you're for or against or you have concerns. And even if there's not a project in the area you have a concern on, please leave a comment in general.
The second open house will be this Thursday at the Ogden Intermodal Center in Ogden from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. Or you can visit their website at wfrc.org and provide input on their interactive map for the Draft 2024 to 2029 Transportation Improvement Program.
More than half a century after boarding schools for members of the Ute tribe were closed, we're now learning more about how students were treated in the public school system, also the long-term impacts. Courtney Tanner from our content sharing partner, the Salt Lake Tribune, has been investigating how Ute students were pushed into public schools after the White Rocks boarding school and others were shut down back in the 50s. Multiple reports detail mistreatment of the students. To this day, Tanner tells us students are falling behind and not graduating due to alleged abuse and lack of resources.
I think people know most of that. Their hair was cut, they were beaten for speaking their language, pretty atrocious treatment. And those started operating in the Ute Reservation around 1881 and continued through 1952, which is actually a really long chunk of time for boarding schools. A lot of the other boarding schools in the United States didn't last that long.
The Salt Lake Tribune published 3 articles on the education of Ute students. The other parts in the series mention how the tribe itself is trying to make up for the lack of representation and resources.
And coming up, we're going to take a look at your very warm forecast. Right now, it's actually turning out to be a pretty pleasant evening. We've got temperatures around 85 in Salt Lake and 80 in Ogden and Provo. We'll take a look at your forecast after this.
Welcome back, everyone. In national news, a 37-day has been granted to Bryan Kohberger's legal team.
Kohberger is accused of fatally stabbing 4 students from the University of Idaho last year. The judge granted the stay to allow the defense time to go over grand jury materials. According to court documents, Kohberger's lawyers could renew the motion to stay proceedings after it finishes its review. The trial is scheduled to start in October.
Former President Donald Trump will not be granted immunity in writer E. Jean Carroll's defamation lawsuit against him. That decision coming from the Justice Department after initially sided with Trump. The case centers around statements Trump made while president in 2019 that dismissed Carroll's accusations that Trump raped her in the 90s. Trump's lawyers argued he should be granted immunity since his character was being questioned and that could have threatened his ability to lead the nation. The DOJ decision means the lawsuit is clear to now move forward.
In more national headlines, Britney Spears will be releasing a memoir focused on her landmark conservatorship case. The singer was in a 13-year court-ordered conservatorship, which was unusual for someone of her age. The 2021 case made headlines and raised questions about conservatorships. Spears' memoir, called The Woman in Me, is expected to be released in October.
And good evening. I'm Fox 13 meteorologist Tina Friedman with your forecast tonight. We had a few showers earlier, struggling to hit the ground over by Monticello, but you still had the raindrops in the sky. And with the sun at the right angle, you got this cool looking rainbow. Thanks, Kaylee Dalton, for sending that in on our Utah's Weather Authority Facebook page. We love that. Pretty evening now that it's starting to cool down a little bit. Nice view over to Jordanelle here at Deer Valley. Really pretty. Our temperatures are starting to cool off. We're now in the 80s finally after spending much of the day at above 95 degrees. So it is 85 now here in Salt Lake City, and we've got a light east wind at 8 miles per hour. 82 in Draper, down to 60 in Alta. That's comfortable. 64 in Colville and 80 in Provo. So a few lucky people are cooling off tonight underneath those clear skies. 96 still holding on to the heat in St. George. 82 for Milford, and still pretty warm in Moab and southeast Utah in the 80s there. Our high today was 98. The average high is 94. We didn't hit the record of 104, so that's good news. It was hot, but it wasn't that hot. Hot days ahead, though. Let's look at some climate data. July is typically hot and dry. If you've lived here in Utah for any amount of time, you already know this. So an average July has 20 days at 90 or above. It has 10 days at 95, equal to 95 or so. And then we've got about 3 days where we hit about 100. Now, so far this month, we have been above 90 for 10 days, 10 out of 11 days already. So we're on track to be, pretty much average. Now in 2022, the whole month was above 90 degrees just about every day. Wow, it was hot last year. Let's hope maybe we get a couple lucky days where it's not quite that warm. So satellite imagery today has shown that we've had clear skies all day. Now southeastern Utah, you had a little bit of convection, some thunderstorms, fire earlier on tonight, but that is moving on to the east. We've got warm weather underneath this ridge here. You can see this kind of U shape, but notice that it's kind of flat. It's not all that amplified or anything, but it's also very stagnant. It doesn't really move a lot. So we've got a ridge going on, and underneath it, it is hot, and there's no real break in that weather pattern until about Tuesday or Wednesday. So until then, just hang on. It's going to be a warm one. Now, pretty warm tonight, too. Clear skies, 72 in Salt Lake tonight. It'll be 76 in St. George, so it'll be a pretty evening. Enjoy the morning while you can, because once that sun gets cooking, it's really, it's going to be cooking tomorrow. 99 in Salt Lake City, 105. And if you like that 105 there in St. George, that's your coldest day out of the next 7 days. I mean, fancy that. 105 there on Wednesday, and then you're up to 113 by Monday. That is just uncomfortable, folks. So we definitely have some very hot weather starting in on the weekend. It's pretty warm no matter how you slice or dice it here. 99 tomorrow. We're in the upper 90s all week, and then everybody goes to about 100 degrees here Sunday all the way through Tuesday. So very warm weather is here to stay with no real change until later next week.
Looks like a tough week, Dina. Thanks so much. Coming up, the Utah Supreme Court will determine whether the legislature's redistricting maps will stand. Here are some of the arguments from both sides.
Plus, we learn more about what led to the arrest of a USU football player accused of rape and selling drugs on campus, and the worries being felt tonight on their campus.
And still to come, what wildlife officials hope to learn as they study these tiny owls in northern Utah. Stick with us. A Utah State football player was arrested yesterday under several felony charges, including rape of another student and selling Adderall on campus.
22-year-old Kingsley Holiday was booked into Cache County Jail, and USU's interim athletic director said in a statement that he's been removed from the team. For alum Katriana Flint, his arrest brings up traumatic memories of when she was raped by a football player on campus and sued the school, saying they didn't do enough to help.
It scares me so bad. It scares me for every single student on that campus. It scares me for the athletes, because here we are again with another athlete who is the perpetrator of these crimes. When is this going to stop?
She says she hopes the school helps to get justice for the victim and that students offer support to each other during this time. The state's top court will decide the fate of Utah's congressional district boundaries.
Today, the Utah Supreme Court heard arguments over the legislature's redistricting maps. In 2018, voters passed Proposition 4, creating an independent redistricting commission. Now, the legislature passed a bill dubbed a, quote, compromise that allowed the commission to recommend maps, but then disregarded their maps in favor of their own.
At the end of the day, the legislature made a policy decision, and our policy decision was it was in the best interest of the state of Utah to have all 4 members of our delegation represent parts of rural Utah and parts of urban Utah.
The court took the case under advisement with no timeline for a ruling. It could be months or years before we get a decision. Now, if it's sooner, that could have impacts on future election cycles. A special population of owls in Utah is being studied in different mountain ranges all across the state right now.
And experts say this is a unique year to track their patterns. So these are the owls you see right there. For over 2 decades, Marcus Mika and his team have monitored 9 nests in the Snow Basin area. 8 are in nest boxes. The researchers carefully weigh each young owl, measure their wings, and tag them with a band to track their progress.
I think this is a great model species that helps us understand how the system interacts and works amongst the various drivers, the resources, the climate, the weather, all of that.
Marcus says avian flu was a concern for them last year because they were handling different bird species too. So they were careful to wear masks and sanitize their hands. But these birds are also solitary, so they have a much lower chance of catching the virus because they don't interact with other birds as much.
They're just so fluffy when they're young like that. Very
cute.
Well, coming up, Utah's Weather Authority Allison Krogan is going to take us to Draper Days and the children's bike parade that took place this evening.
And it has definitely been pretty warm out there. Today our high was 98, our average is 94, but we're nowhere near the record. But could we be there in the next few days? We'll have your forecast after the break.
The BYU football team will take part in the first ever Big 12 Media Day starting tomorrow. We'll hear from Fox 13's Morgan Vance coming up in sports from Texas. And former BYU golfer Peter Quest made the most of his opportunity on the PGA Tour. We'll hear from him before he tees it up this week.
We're in the midst of Draper Days, and the fun community events just keep on coming.
I love all these little city festivals
So
and community get-togethers. They are fun. And tonight, Utah's Weather Authority Allison Krogan stepped out of the studio to catch the children's bike parade. Take a look.
We're here in Draper tonight for the Draper Days Children's Bike Parade. A fun event, kids just out here having a great summer evening. Let's take you along for the sights and sounds.
I'm volunteering with a bunch of my other, fellow council members at the Draper Bike Parade.
Hey!
Okay, what do you think? I love this event. It's really fun, and I think it's one of the ones where we can kind of focus on the kids rather than on the families and the adults, and it just helps the kids feel really special and have a fun day.
What is your favorite part on your bike right now? Your favorite decoration?
The rainbow thing.
Let's put a flag in.
And we want
Kind of seems like an all-American type fun community event.
Yeah, I think 4th of July was very recently, so I think it just kind of ties in with that. I was surprised, honestly, how many children showed up. It's kind of just a unifying event for the whole community.
What if we did? I'm helping decorate bikes. 2 bows on each side.
I helped decorate the bikes, just helping the kids out. It's kind of fun just to see how enthusiastic they are. Why? It's a little infectious, just, get to play along with them, help them decorate their bike, have fun.
A great way to bond with my peers and get to meet the community.
You like the scooters or the bikes, or what do you think is the best for decorating?
I think they're all great. Because the decorations are pretty, they can go on anything really. You have some fun hats, little American flags.
Time to start lining up!
All right, there you go. I love when the kids go down the parade route. It's just they have the biggest smiles on their faces.
I love seeing all of the kids smiling and walking through the parade, super excited about how they've decorated their bikes.
So we're just here on Tuesday night in the middle of the Draper Days. Lots of activities happening through the end of the week and into this weekend. Reporting in Draper, I'm Allison Krogan, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Some really cool bikes and scooters I saw there. If you are wondering, there are more events coming up throughout Draper Days. You can check out what they are online at draperutah.gov. A lot of fun ones. I always enjoy going to the big concert and fireworks every year. The festival goes until the 15th, so check it out online. They are going to have some hot weather for their Draper Days this year, but you know what? It's always mid-July, so I think,
And they had a great turnout, despite the heat.
That's right. Actually, after such a hot day, Dina, this evening was pretty nice.
Oh, no, now it's nice. Once the sun gets low, it starts to feel really good. And if you're going to Draper Days or anything like that, just remember to really stay hydrated. That's the thing. And seek shade whenever you can, but keeping hydrated goes a long way. Pretty night tonight, though. Now that the sun's getting low, we had nice sunset pictures come in. This one's shared with us on our Facebook page. We just love seeing that. Thank you so much for sharing that pretty picture over Utah Lake. It is starting to cool off out there. We're out of the 90s. Which was a great decade. But hey, that's aside. 85 now. Another good one. 85, 80 in Ogden, and 80 in Provo. All right. Temperatures tonight only going down to around 72 degrees. So it is going to be a warm night. And once that sun gets up tomorrow morning, it is going to get hot in a hurry. So we're at 85 now here in Salt Lake. 58 though in Alta, 62 in Colville. So a few of you really cooling off, really comfortable up here at our high elevation locations at Eden. You've got temperatures there in the 60s. Nice for you. 66 Bryce Canyon, 85 in Moab. Holding on to the 90s there in St. George. Warm night, warm days ahead. We've got the heat continuing on and on here for at least the next 7 days, which also means we have an increase in our fire danger. But then we're talking about triple digits by Sunday, 100 degrees all around, really warm. But later in next week, we'll start to break up the weather just a little bit. Clear skies tonight. We are back to a pretty dry weather pattern. Warm weather all around. We drew in the jet stream in here. That's this blue line that you see. It's making this arc shape. We've got this weak ridge ahead aloft here, and it's not amplified or up high, but it's flat. But the problem is it's real stagnant. It's not really moving a whole lot. So with a pattern like this that doesn't shift, you just get more of the same, and that's what we'll have. We'll have high pressure and warm, sunny days, and that will be the foreseeable future. So for tonight, you've got temperatures cooling off. So in the morning, it'll be pretty nice. 72 in Salt Lake, 76 in St. George. So not too bad. Clear skies, you can get out and about and have a good time, but then the sun gets going and it really gets warm. 99 for Salt Lake tomorrow. We'll be up to 93 here at Cache Valley Logan. Good day to get over to Bear Lake tomorrow, too. 86 in Park City, 94 in Price. So yeah, just get out early if you can. In the afternoon, it'll just be really warm out there. 105. So tomorrow's your coolest day of the next 7 days. Hard to believe, but we're going to be having temperatures around 113 degrees. Pretty uncomfortable by Sunday and Monday in southern Utah, and really warm everywhere. So warm and sunny, upper 90s tomorrow, and then Sunday through Tuesday, it's around 100 in northern Utah. So very hot and very dry, at least for another week.
Football Media Days for the Big 12 Conference starts tomorrow in Texas, and Fox 13's Morgan Vance is there to cover BYU as the Cougars begin year one in the Big 12. Here's a preview.
Jeff, 7 schools taking the podium here at AT&T Stadium, home of the Cowboys tomorrow, another 7 on Thursday. BYU is in that first group, along with the preseason favorite Texas, Oklahoma State, Baylor, Kansas, Houston, and TCU as well. Head coach Kalani Sitake is here, along with 5 players. The Cougars' new quarterback Keaton Slovis and returning wideout Cody Epps representing the offense. On defense, a couple of Utah natives repping blue, and Tyler Batty and Ben Bywater. Even the punter, Ryan Rako, making the trip. The Big 12 is the first of the major conferences to hold their media day. The season, though, doesn't begin for another 7 weeks. From Dallas, Morgan Vance, Fox 13 Sports.
The last 2 weeks may prove to be life-changing for Peter Quest. After 2 great weeks on the PGA Tour, the former BYU golfer now has a great opportunity to earn his PGA Tour card. With no status on the PGA Tour, he Monday qualified for the Rocket Mortgage Classic 2 weeks ago, finished tied for 4th. That got him into the next PGA Tour event, the John Deere Classic, where he tied for 17th, earning the 25-year-old a special temporary membership from the PGA Tour, which gives him unlimited sponsor exemptions for the rest of the season. He received one of those exemptions this week at the Barbasol Championship in Kentucky, as he now tries to earn a PGA Tour card for next season. Quest was an All-American at BYU, won the Utah Open in 2020, the year he turned pro, but he had nowhere to play during the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, he lives in American Fork, has been battling for spots on the PGA Tour and Korn Ferry Tour ever since. But now that has changed after 2 great weeks.
It's awesome. We get to play multiple weeks in a row and don't really have to do the Monday qualifier grind. So that's always nice, getting to come to a course and take Monday off and just kind of rest a little bit. So it's just, I'm really grateful for the opportunity to play and keep it rolling.
Major League Baseball All-Star Game in Seattle, bottom of the first inning. Yandy Diaz from the Tampa Bay Rays drive to left field. It carries out for a home run. That put the American League up 1-0. But then in the 8th inning, Elias Diaz from the Colorado Rockies lifts it to left field. 2-run home run. Put the National League up 3-2. That was the final score. National League won it, ending a 9-game losing streak in the MLB All-Star Game. Elias Diaz there named the MVP.
Fun game.
Yeah, back and forth a little bit.
Low
They're
scoring,
really good.
yeah.
Those guys are really good baseball players after the Home Run Derby and then the All-Star Game tonight.
Yes. Thanks, everyone, for staying up late and watching Fox 13 News. Good night.